Hey, what's going on YouTube? We're back with another video. Hopefully everyone's doing well in this tumultuous year and a bit that we've had so far. This video we're going to be talking about clean coding techniques and how to apply them to cleaning up conditional statements. So we're going to be going over three different techniques. First technique is called Decompose Conditional. The second one is called Consolidate, Duplicate Conditional Fragments, and lastly, Consolidate Conditional Expressions. It sounds complicated, but trust me, it's fairly easy, and you'll see that when I do a demonstration with the code. In most cases, depending on the type of development you do, you're going to come across conditional statements in your code base for sure. However, I guess an argument can be made that you can eliminate the need for conditionals by using polymorphism, but we can leave that topic for another video, and I'm pretty sure the comments are probably going to be flooded with people who have different opinions. So next, let me jump straight into the code. It's going to be a lot easier for you to understand what I'm talking about if you see it in action. And then after that, we can kind of loop back around and summarize what we went over. So the first batter up is decompose conditional. With decompose conditional, you want to look at your conditional statement and see what you can pull out. So let's take a look at this guy here. So just give it a brief glance and see what you can stick in a method and have that method name clearly define its intention, and also see if there are multiple places where you can do this. Like the overall goal is for readability and clarity. So at a glance here, like if I'm inspecting my conditional here, I see that there is a return statement here on line 24, and then there's another return statement here on line 28. And these I know for sure can definitely be extracted out into some methods that clearly define their intention. Like right now, looking at this statement here, there's quite a bit going on. Even though it's simple, there's still a lot going on in this line, and we can definitely make this easier to read. So let's jump into refactoring this. All right. Before we actually jump into refactoring this class here, just let me run this for you guys quickly, just to show you how it works. I'm using NodeMon. It monitors the current file that you pass into it. In this case, it's decompose.js. And if any changes are made or if you save it, I'll save it right now, you can see that it reruns the source file. Okay, so we see a couple things here. The first one is the charge amount from get monthly charge. That's $142.64. And then we see the account age being passed in. So in this case, it's 32 days. So it's going to be falling into this block here for a regular user. There's actually a couple things I want to change here. I'm going to bring in this logger class that I have, and I'm going to replace all these current logging statements that I have with the logger class implementation. Let's save that. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. So we see the timestamp, and then we see the initial message that was passed in. And then, of course, we can get rid of this guy since we no longer use it. We'll save that again. And then I also want to create another line here for a trial user. I'm going to pass in, say, 12 days, just so we satisfy this criteria up here. Okay, perfect. So we see account age of 12 days. We see that they're paying $7.50 versus account age of 32 days for a regular user who's paying $142.64. Okay, so looking at our method here, get monthly charge. If we look at our conditional here, let's see what we can decompose. So aka break down and make a bit simpler. So I see lines 24 and lines 28. These we can pull out just because it has the most complexity here, and we can jam these into some methods here that will make it a bit easier to understand. So let's do that. All right, so we have trial charge and regular charge. Trial charge is going to apply to the if statement. Regular charge is going to apply to the else statement here. And these return statements are obviously identical to the return statements up here. Okay. So let's turn this guy here. Save it. Still running. Everything's still good. And we're going to be doing the same thing here as well. So this is for regular charge. Save that. Still running. Everything's still good. All right, so that's pretty much it. It's almost criminal like not to use this every day in your refactoring and programming. So let's actually look at the original method and compare it now to our newly refactored method. So if we paste back in our old method here, this is the old one, this is the newly refactored one here, we can see like the refactored one is definitely a lot better. It makes the intentions clear, so it's easy to see what you're branching on, and the chunks of codes are replaced with method calls whose name reflect your intention. So I definitely go with this one 100% of the time. Now that I showed you guys that example, let me delete the old method here. Just leave our newly refactored method. All right, so the next technique is called Consolidate Duplicate Conditional Fragments. And um, you can tell when you need to use that when you see identical code in all legacy of your conditionals. So we see the logger statement here. It's identical for both cases here. So it's just a matter of taking this and pulling it out of the conditional. In this case, I'm going to stick it up top because both these conditionals here have return statements, and if you put it after the return statement, it's not going to execute that line. And if we run this again, we can see that everything is working, and that's pretty much it for consolidated duplicate conditional fragments. Super easy to use. It just makes it clear what varies and what stays the same. So the next technique we're going to be talking about, and the last one, is called consolidate conditional expressions. Now, sometimes you're going to have a series of different checks that all yield the same result. When you run into this situation, most times you're able to use a series of ands and ors to simplify the conditional and consolidate them into a single conditional check, which in turn yields a single result. So if we take a look here, we see get discount and get loyalty point multiplier. Those are used by the method get monthly charge. And one quick thing, notice how everything here is separated out into individual methods. That hides a little bit of the complexity and definitely makes your conditional easier to read. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's just jump back up here. So when do you use ands and ors? So one clue for using ands is if you see nested if statements. For instance, this is saying if the account age is greater than 50 and the user is registered, then return the value of 4. Up here, it would be a case for using or. It's saying if the user has a promo, if the user's account age is greater than 1 and less than 30, or if the user is an employee, we're going to be returning a value of 0.45. All right, before we actually refactor, let me save this here just to make sure it's still running. And we can see it's still running. We have a trial user here that's paying an amount of $1.26 at a 45% discount, and then our regular user is paying an amount of $185.59 at a 0% discount. So looking up here at the discount method, we see the top 3 criteria that determine whether or not the user is eligible for a discount. That also gives us a clue as to what we're going to name our method. All right, so we have our method here, eligible for discount, and now it's a matter of just replacing the top 3 criteria with our newly created method. So notice in the method here, we're ORing together has promo, is employee, and then whether or not the account age is within the specified date range. And now we simply replace what we initially had before, and notice how the method is quite a bit shorter and also a lot easier to read. And we're going to save it, make sure everything's running as usual. And as you can see, same values, $1.26 at 45% discount for a trial user, and then $185.59 at a 0% discount for a regular user. All right, so our next method we're going to refactor here is the get loyalty point multiplier. And this is checking to see if the user's account age is greater than 60 and if the user is registered. So we see nested ifs here, so we know that this is the case for ands. So we're going to do something similar to what we did for get discount, except instead of using the OR operator, we're going to be using the AND operator. So we create our method with our extracted AND cases here. So account age greater than 60, as seen up here, and then user is registered, as seen here. And then it's a matter of taking our newly created method and replacing it here. Our statement. Then we can get rid of the nested if here. We'll just fix up that formatting. Save that, and we notice that everything is still the same. $1.26 at 45% discount, and then a regular user amount at $185.84 at 0% discount. Perfect, everything is working. And as we can see, just looking at it, it's a bit easier to read and see what's going on, just with a simple refactoring that we did here. All right, so that should conclude our video for today. And just to summarize the 3 techniques we went over Decompose Conditional, consolidate duplicate conditional fragments, and lastly consolidate conditional expressions. So for Decompose Conditional, you want to use that when you have a complicated conditional if-else statement, and the aim there is to increase readability and clarity. For consolidate duplicate conditional fragments, you want to use that when you have the same fragment of code in all branches of your conditional expression. And lastly, consolidate conditional expression. You want to use that when you have a sequence of conditional tests that all yield the same result. And number 2 and 3 there are going to help you reduce redundant code. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys out there. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are, and also remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.